Welcome to the Oil and Gas Pitch Podcast. Today's episode is going to be something that I'm excited to learn about, which is sometimes it's not just about getting your data into the cloud, but it's like, how do you do it faster with more agility and get better throughput? And how does it really, what are the financial effects that it has on your business? Today, my guest is Marc Palumbo. He's the Chief Revenue Officer over at Buurst. I don't know a whole lot about what they do and how they do it, but we're about to dive in. I'm very much happy that you made it here. I didn't ever ask you, what city are you out of? Are you a Houstonian?
I am right here in Houston, Texas. Actually live down at Sugar Land, right by the Skeeter Stadium.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So we're like neighbors, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Tell me a little bit before we get started, you've been at Buurst, for some time, and what were some of the things that kind of appealed to you?
Actually, not really that long. It's kind of a funny story. So I was employee 82 at Citrix years ago. So kind of got into cloud before cloud was cool. And I've been around in the industry for 20 plus years. And a good friend of mine, Gary Ola, who was our CEO, called me up Christmas time and said, "Hey, Marc, I need help. I need somebody to come in and run sales." And I joined the company back in February, and I've been loving it ever since.
That's great. I've met a couple people you work with. Alex is one of them.
Yeah, Alex started the same time as me, so he's our Chief Marketing Officer.
What I love about him is he's very concise. He's very assertive. But at the same time, as I interacted with him a couple times and I got introduced to you, I realized there's a lot of heart behind this company. And I want to throw something out to you to kind of start this interview, because I'm not like a tech guru, right? But from what I researched, basically, part of the oil and gas industry is there are people out there looking for oil, right? And they're investing millions and millions, maybe like tens of millions, potentially $20 million in not only locating where the site needs to be, but then there's this whole data play, and doing a little more research and kind of having a couple conversations, I had someone explain to me that there's this thing called a petabyte, and I was told that
it's petabyte.
Oh, a petabyte. Okay. See this? See? Okay, so this is I'm in school.
But maybe in oil and gas, it's petrobyte. Because petrol.
We should coin that term.
We should. We'd make some money.
Hat.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, this is it. I'm in school. Okay, so I was told that moving a petabyte. Moving a petabyte is equivalent to downloading or uploading 18 million Encyclopedia Britannicas.
We like to think about it's like sucking peanut butter through a straw.
Oh, yeah, okay. See, I like this. Now I'm getting it. But you are really, what you guys are doing is making everything move quicker, faster, more dependable.
Yes.
And there's a lot to talk about just in how that happens.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that the biggest challenge, we saw oil go negative this year, right? So it was a big problem. A lot of our oil and gas customers, most notably like Halliburton, right? They came and said, "Hey, we got to cut costs across the board. We're not sure." They had layoffs and all these other negative things happened. And what we do, and we actually rebranded the company as Buurst in May of this year. Actually, May the 4th of all the kind of funny dates for Star Wars fans.
Yes.
But we rebranded the company. It was really the thought behind helping companies burst out of their data centers, burst into the cloud, bursting for capacity, for processing, and it really is starting to resonate. And so we help customers, especially in the oil and gas space, do more with less. We try to deliver the best possible performance at the lowest possible cost by deploying in the cloud. So when you get into, like I said, petabytes of scale of data, our competitors out there, they charge a lot of money. They charge on a per terabyte basis, which is 1/1000th of a petabyte, right?
Wow.
So what's challenging there is this can be tens of thousands a month, in case millions of dollars per month that they're spending on this. And how do you reduce that storage spend when that storage is doubling every couple of years?
Interesting, because the more you say this, just my visual is that if you're a CFO of a company that's engaged in this one little line item is just compounding
every single year.
And with data, you don't ever want to hit the reset button or go you know what, we could save a few bucks if we just delete all this crap. You're married to it.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because we have another product coming out later this year. I'll talk about later during this podcast. But they call it dark data. what do you do with all this dark data, right? And so you have this data, you don't know if should you keep it. It's like, going through your garage,
Sure.
Do I throw this stuff away? Do I keep it? And so if you have data that's 7-10 years or longer, you may be keeping it unintentionally, and guess what? You're paying a storage tax on that. So we affectionately call it the storage tax. And so when you're dealing with one of our lovely on-premise storage provider competitors, they continue to come to your door and they knock on your door every year and they say, hey, we need you to pay that storage tax now. And you're right, CFOs and controllers are getting fed up. They don't want to pay a storage tax, so they're looking at alternatives for the cloud like Buurst Soft NAS.
And does it matter if I'm a CFO and I've been married to kind of some big storage, whatever the storage is, I don't know this world.
Yeah.
Can I still consider this?
Absolutely. So our stakeholders are really the finance folks and then the IT folks, right? So the finance folks will care because they're going to go to the IT guys and say, do you really need to spend X million dollars on this storage solution? Can we do it for less by moving to the cloud? I hear all these stories, people moving to the cloud and reducing their data center costs. Can we do the same? And unfortunately, we affectionately call these folks in the IT land, there are a lot of server hugs out there. They still want to hug those servers and keep them in their data center, but we all know that's going the way to the dodo. Everything's moving to Microsoft Azure, AWS. And so for the IT guys, our message to them is, hey, not only can we help you reduce costs, which will make your finance folks happy, we can give you much better performance. That's what they care about, delivering better optimal performance for their end users. Because if the mission critical applications don't run in the cloud, then you can't make the move. And so we give them a solution to do that.
Got it. Okay. So let me ask you this. You mentioned AWS, right? So there's a lot of people that are on AWS and they're just going like, oh, we got cloud, right? You are like the accelerator. I know that there's a word that you mentioned in our pre-call, the power of throughput. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, we've got some slides on that as well, but, for those who are watching the video can view that, but, you can check it out on our website. We have wonderful performance data, talks about how we are, in many cases, 23 times faster than the standard AWS EFS solution. So if you have basic needs for storage, let's call it 6 to 8 terabytes, you may or may not need our solution. But once you start getting to 8, 10 terabytes and above in that petabyte scale of data, we are going to dramatically give you better performance and you're going to reduce your cost substantially. So we're going to give you better throughput. You're going to have less latency. So again, when you have lots of latency, that's bad. Better IOPS, which is that concurrent flow of data back and forth. So we look at IOPS, throughput, and latency as those three factors, and we crush our competition in all three of those categories.
I love it. And what's funny is I was just patting myself on the back. Really, I want to pat you on the back on the fact that here it is. We haven't even gotten to a slide yet, and I feel like we're on a little bit of a roll. Like this is really, this is actually way more than what I was originally expecting because we're talking about performance, really, right? I want to just confirm, when I was throwing out these numbers, $15-20 million that people who are looking for oil are investing, is that really in data? Is that just data?
It's crazy. We were talking, I won't mention who the customer was, it's confidential, but one of our enterprise customers, they don't spend a lot of money with us, maybe we'll call $5,000 a month. They are spending over $200 million a year on AWS compute and what they call consumption. So it's this constant grind of all these applications, but they have a choice. They can either spend that money on data centers, which will probably cost X times that $200 million because you got to pay for the real estate, the energy, the manpower resources. So when you look at those costs, the cloud is way less expensive.
It's funny because both of us are in sales, right? There's different words you'd never want to use. You don't want to use the word spend. You always want to say the word invest. But the fact is if you're doing this the old way, you are spending money. You're doing like the most unrighteous thing for your shareholders that you could be doing if you're in this game.
Yep.
All right, well, let's kick it off. I'd love to see your first slide, and I feel like we could just end the episode right here, and people would be like, wow, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, and I'll probably just jump around a little bit because, really what we talk about here is, is who is Buurst, right? So our mission is real simple. We want to help business connect to the cloud. So, but we've been around actually since about 7 or 8 years now, I think 2012, 13 timeframe. So the company started out as a software network attached storage solution. So Soft NAS, that's how the name came about. And so when you think about a company that runs a network attached storage device in their on-premises data center. How do you get that same capability by moving into the cloud? So we were actually the number one cloud selling solution on both the Azure Marketplace and the Amazon Web Services Marketplace. So what is the Marketplace? It's essentially a worldwide marketplace that customers can go, these are B2B customers, right, business customers, can go online and purchase software. And the cool thing for us is we're sold in over 39 different countries across the globe through both marketplaces. So even though we're here in Houston, Texas, and we had offices in Seattle and other places around the world, we're a virtual company. Our customers are virtual. They buy us virtually, and it's really work from anywhere.
You know, it's the thought geographically that this solution really is plug and play. Like I could be in France, and if I have this service, I'm getting all of the benefits. There's no like once I'm engaged with you, it's kind of I get to.
Yeah, it's so crazy. We have so Jeff Johnson, who heads product marketing on Alex's team, he actually posted a demo on LinkedIn. People can check it out if they go to the Buurst page on LinkedIn, and he'll show you a 5-minute demo where he actually sets up a SoftNAS instance in Azure. It's like literally that simple.
Amazing.
And we have free trials available for customers that want to try our solution on both AWS and Azure, and it's literally like, again, 7 clicks in that 5-minute time frame to get spun up on a new instance. So you're absolutely right. And that's the reason why we think a lot of oil and gas customers have gravitated to our solution. So like Halliburton, I'll talk about this later, they have an application, mission critical application that their customers who are in Malaysia, Singapore, India, Australia, and many places where, again, connectivity is an issue, building a data center is an issue. Instead, they connect to AWS, they connect to Azure, and instantly have that application available to their customers.
And this might be a silly question, but if I'm in India and I have employees that only read that language, do you guys, does that even matter? I don't understand.
It does and it doesn't, right? So unfortunately, we're not localized in other languages yet, right?
Okay.
We're starting to localize some of our marketing content, which is kind of funny. We have some stuff in Chinese and Spanish, which is to help people understand what we do. But we actually run in the instance or the tenant of the customer. So for example, we have a couple of partners in AWS China. And so they actually run in the China instance of AWS in that country. So even though our stuff is in English and they understand it, it's really code and admin tool stuff. So yeah, you can run it in other countries, but it runs in that region in that country. So not necessarily native language, but in their native instance.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
well, that's great.
cool.
And I love this slide because, like I said, it says a lot when you can just start putting the pieces together and you're wondering, why would anyone not have it? It's kind of like one of my favorite drives in the U.S. is you go from Los Angeles up through Santa Barbara all the way to San Francisco. You're going to see Cambria. You're going to see Monterey. Yep. It's wonderful, but it's a damn 1-lane highway.
Yes.
It sucks when there's traffic.
Yes.
It's like what you guys are doing is saying, why do that?
Yes, exactly. And it's funny you said that because that brings up another point. It's a hybrid cloud, right? So again, Microsoft and AWS would love for you to be a one-trick pony in their solution, but we know most customers want to have choices. They want to have other ability to deploy their applications. So they'll look at having a hybrid solution. We help them deploy in both clouds, which Halliburton does and other customers do. So I think there's some benefit there, but also the fact that we have multi-protocol support. So we have various protocols like NFS and CIFS. This is kind of very technical stuff, but even the Apple file protocols, which nobody really uses, but you could use it, right? We give you the capability and the choices to have those that deployment option. So yeah, awesome. Absolutely. And so, just some of other logos, in the oil and gas space, kind of our 4 or 5, top customers. Halliburton, we have a very great strategic partnership with those guys. We've begun initial discussions with the Schlumberger team and rolling forward with those guys. We're very excited about that. ExxonMobil actually deploys the Decision Space 365 application with Halliburton, so that's another big one. Petronas is one of my favorite ones, though. They've been a great customer, and they're actually headquartered. They're the Malaysia-owned oil and gas company.
Wow.
And so they're kind of quasi-government, quasi-business, and we've helped them deploy in Mexico, Malaysia, Singapore, and other places in Asia Pacific, and they love our solution because of that flexibility.
That's incredible. And yes, this is the Oil and Gas Podcast, but I want to just take a minute because this is really a show about how this can help everybody. I want to ask you, what other industries are finding this Buurst solution as something that's a player for them?
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is, when I got in here to this company, I realized very quickly it was a horizontal play. So much like when I was at Citrix years ago, when we talked about remote access before remote access became a thing. Again, anybody who's trying to deploy their apps in the cloud, we could be a fit for it. So areas we're seeing a fit besides oil and gas, public sector, healthcare, bio life sciences now with all the COVID-19 stuff. Like, how do you really compute gobs and gobs of data? So any other like legal industry, any place, universities, any place where you have lots, what I call gobs and gobs of data. That's where we can give you.
I love that technical term, gobs and gobs. We can relate to that.
Yeah, that's where I can really help you guys reduce your overall spend. So the nice thing about all these logos, whether it's Campbell Soup Company or Disney, Netflix, we've always done very well in media communications.
Nice.
Think about video files, very big, again, gobs and gobs of data, right? So, you look at those companies, we are a point use case solution. So what I'm trying to now transform the business is going from this kind of point use case solution to strategic. How do we go from being kind of, again, when I was at Citrix years ago, this, a solution for remote access to, hey, how can we work with you on an enterprise-wide strategy? How can we help, whether it's Chevron or Shell or ExxonMobil, be an enterprise-wide performance management solution to help you with all of your storage, all of your cloud computing needs.
Well, and that's the thing. So here, I've had this show for several months, and I meet people that are in technology, and people throw the word data around like it's anything. But what happens is when you kind of dive into something, you're in technology, you're always concerned a little bit if you're a consumer. Is this just a one-trick pony, right? Is this just all it's going to do? And what I learned kind of quickly is, no, you guys actually, there is like several reasons why Buurst brings something really great to the table, because it's not just speed. It's not just all the performance things. It's this operating cost that people are being eaten alive. These companies are being eaten alive at a time when there is no better time to be thrifty, to be smart, and to be cutting edge.
No, you're 100% correct. In fact, when I first started with the company, and this was to Alex's credit, our CMO, he really put his foot down and said, guys, if we're going to rebrand the company, we really have to think differently about our pricing structure. So we used to be on the same model as every other storage provider, which was charging that per terabyte storage tax. And I kind of joke about this slide here that we're talking about, right? Which is, and Alex came up with this, so I can't take credit for it. But he jokes, you go see a car mechanic, right? The answer is always a part for your car. Right?
We know it.
You go talk to a surgeon about, whether it's plastic surgery or back surgery, right? They're going to figure out a way. Hey Warren, you really need surgery, right?
Absolutely.
So you got to push back. And again, if you go talk to one of our competitors in the storage space, the answer is always you need more storage. And so we want to push back on that. Say no, you need better performance, not more storage. And so we're really thinking about your data differently. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, and the other thing is just, I don't know, Alex is going to think I'm some big fan or something, but the one thing that he was telling me too, like in the world of performance, it's not just speed, it's uptime dependability. It's like knowing that 99.99999% of the time, everything's working. So what is that? What lever is that for you in a sales call? Like when you're meeting somebody and I'm sure you have people that have pushback. I mean, is this something where when you sit down with a CFO or you sit down with a controller, and even if they bring somebody from IT or OT in, that they're trying to poke holes in what you guys do?
Absolutely. It's usually not the finance guys. The finance guys, they just, hey, if it's less money, they want to buy it, right?
Sure.
But they want to get it vetted out. So you're right. The pushback's going to come from IT. And so what we'll typically do is we'll engage in a proof of concept with the customer, right? And we say, hey, the proof's in the pudding. So it's like if you go to a car dealership and you want to buy a car, you're going to test drive the car before you walk off the lot. We believe the same thing. We want to say, hey, we put our money where our mouth is. We want to show the customer that we can actually do and deliver what we say we can do. And it's the saying of promises made, promises kept, right? When you're talking to either the finance or the IT folks, this is data from IDC and Gartner. I mean, we're not making this stuff up, but this is pre-COVID. We're talking of like February of last year. Gartner and IDC were predicting that over 80% of businesses were going to move to the cloud. They're going to just shut down their data centers. In fact, I was talking to a customer just this past week. I can't talk who it is, but a very large bank. I should have mentioned banks, another one, right? Out of New York City. And they told us they are, in the next 6 months, beginning next month, they're shutting down all of their data centers and moving everything into the cloud.
I love that, because it's almost like what I'm hearing you say is, hey, this was already a movement, but now that we're post-COVID, like we're not even post, we're in the middle of it. I don't know when this ends, but now that we're in COVID, everybody better tune in. Everybody better figure this out. And Buurst has already been there, done that, and this is the place to go.
It's funny. Even before I came to Buurst, my last company was also a cloud software provider, and I was telling folks, because everybody thinking about going to the cloud, I said, honestly, do you really want to run your own data center? I mean, I remember the days when people were running phone servers in their closets.
Sure.
And today you say, why the heck would you run a phone server in your closet? You can just outsource to Verizon or AT&T, whatever. And I think that the model that Microsoft, Amazon, Google Cloud, VMware Cloud, IBM, Oracle, all these guys, they've created a new utility model. It's really an IT utility. So why would you want to pay for a CapEx expenditure, buy all these servers, buy this data center, pay for the energy to run it, risk your employees of catching COVID in the data center, have to buy all these servers? I mean, it's a huge cost.
Yeah.
So that resonates with both the finance and the IT folks. So you're right. In the COVID world, we're now seeing our business accelerate and uptick, because instead of 2025, it might be 2023.
Yes.
More and more businesses are saying, get me the heck out of these data centers. I think in 5 years, just like those phone servers, you're going to say, what, you still run a data center? Like, why would you do that?
Well, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the rioting or the hurricanes or the flooding or whatever, but I feel like the sooner people like get data off Mother Earth, it might be for the best. It's like, it seems like for sure, like from a just a dexterity standpoint, you might be better off in space.
Well, this is the thing I joke with people too. Like if you think, like a CIO says to me, well, I want to have my own data center because it's more secure. I said, if you think you're going to spend more money on IT security than Microsoft or Amazon, then I want to have what you're drinking.
Okay, so let's talk mathematics for a minute, because, and I don't know what your next slides are, but I just want to say, if someone's listening right now, they're going like, is this a cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching? Is this like an expensive thing, or is it a benefit?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So, one of the things, just specific now to oil and gas, right? There's a lot of things we talk about. So one is, I mentioned data centers everywhere, right? So if you were, again, Petronas, and do you want to put a data center in Malaysia, and a data center in Singapore, and a data center in Mexico, right? Or just run it in AWS and Azure. I mean, it makes complete business sense. So not just, just common sense, not even financial math. It's just very simple common sense. Why would you do that? So we think that's a big benefit for oil and gas. The second reason, you're talking about, just the fact that hardware gets outdated so quickly. I mean, I was laughing. My son, he's a big World of Warcraft fan, I don't know, but he was his hard drive just failed on him. I said, well, yeah, because you're on the damn thing all the time. I'm joking with him, right?
Yes.
And I said, and he had to go to Micro Center, one of the local places, to go buy a new hard drive. Well, think about, that's just one hard drive in a household. Think of the hard drives that fail on all these data centers, and you're swapping out hard drives, and you got to get secure solid state drives, and you got to worry about the swap outs, and you got to buy 2 for 1. I mean, it's such a hassle.
Yeah.
Why would you worry about that? Just let the folks at AWS or Microsoft manage that for you. It's much simpler.
Such a good point.
Absolutely. And then, this is the big year. I mean, oil and gas has been on such a tear. And this was a wake-up call, I think, this year for a lot of oil and gas companies. They said, hey, we can't keep doing business as usual. We've got to find a way to cut our costs and be more profitable. And we want to help our oil and gas customers do that. So if we can help them reduce their costs, do more for less, we absolutely want to do that. And then the last point is really, it's connecting the unconnected, which is, in our world, think about oil and gas companies that have tankers, that are across the sea, or they've got, refining drilling facilities in the Middle East. They've got a VSAT or a satellite connection. How do you get that data across a satellite connection, right? So in those areas, we can help out too. So we have a solution we're coming out called Fusion. I've been talking mostly about SoftNAS, and I've got some update on that later. But the cool thing about Fusion, we're thinking about your data differently. So SoftNAS has been our cash cow product for many years. Again, delivering the best possible performance, lowest possible cost of in the cloud. But what Fusion does is helps you to fuse data from any target source to any target location. So we have capabilities to now move that data from, again, very dirty networks or poor networks like satellite connections. You want to move it off of Google Cloud into Azure. You want to move it off of IBM Cloud into AWS, whatever. You've got that capability now. So we're really changing the name of the game in terms of how we deliver data and perform that stuff in the cloud and analyze it. For folks that want to actually look at insights to the business. Data is the new currency, and I mentioned that dark data before. How do you go back and take that dark data and make it meaningful? Right?
And dark data basically just means stuff that you probably already went through, you may never need. It's kind of like the filing cabinets in my garage.
Yeah. But how many times you go through the garage, you say, oh wow, hey, it's my old football jersey or whatever, right?
Sure.
I'd like to keep that or frame it, right?
Well, you're always afraid to throw it away.
Right. So the point is, we want to help companies go through all that dark data and really analyze which is meaningful and which is not.
Okay, when you're talking satellites, right? I remember, here I am. I'm born in the 70s. I remember going to my friends' houses and them having a satellite in their backyard, and that was like some cutting edge thing.
Right.
When you're talking satellites, are you that is legacy crap, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And this is a play for you guys, is going around and finding people who, even if they have a satellite.
But it's funny because I mentioned we're a global company, so we have to think about data deployments not just here in the U.S., which we're pretty well connected here in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
I think cell phone probably is better connectivity in some of the places, some of the countries we deal with, right? So the point is, when you have these remote areas, you don't want to put a data center out there, so you got to connect to the cloud, A. But B, again, you may not have a choice. Satellite may not be legacy. It may be cutting edge for that country, right? So we have to think about it that way too.
Nice. Any other slide on this one?
No, but I was going to just say, again, taking it back to oil and gas, who's going to really care about what we do, right? And I think there's really three primary use cases. I talk about two here on this slide, but the three primary use cases are, again, you've got mission critical data. It's either in a file or database that has to be moved to the cloud. We can absolutely help with that, and we can do it at the lowest possible cost. The other one is, again, I mentioned like Halliburton's Decision Space 365 application, right? Schlumberger has an application called Petrol. IHS Marquette uses an application called Kingdom Suite. These are geospatial applications that are mission critical to the business. They're deploying it to their oil and gas customers globally, and that system cannot go down. So they're using our solution to help deploy that in the cloud. And there's other ones. You think about like SAP Hana is another big application. It's a manufacturing app, and we have oil and gas customers as well as other Fortune 500 customers like Campbell Soup Company that run SAP Hana, but they use us because that system can't go down.
I think it says a lot to think of like these big names you're sharing right now, and you think about this, but you really are the chosen alliance to let their tools do what they do. I think if somebody is listening and they're at all in this gamut of what data requires, or if they're in oil and gas and it's just something that they need to get better at, I think it speaks volumes.
Absolutely. I hate to use the pun, but we're bursting onto the scene in a big way, right?
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, Microsoft and AWS, we continue to engage with their teams, globally. So those partnerships are awesome. We also have great global partnerships, outside of oil and gas, but companies like Deloitte and DXC Technology and Infosys that are also partners of ours that are helping to deploy our solutions in their customers. So we're definitely making a scene, and we're coming out. We're really people are getting notice of.
I love it. A lot of the names you're sharing, a lot of them are major friends of the Oil and Gas Global Network. They're people that have supported us, even, right?
Yep.
And to see this kind of connectivity, if you will, of where you guys aren't just here with us sharing this story, but you're actually doing it for people that we know and we trust and we love.
Yeah. Well, another one, so the third one I don't talk about in the slide here, but I'll share with you is what they call Windows Virtual Desktop, right? So now you're not just deploying a single mission critical application, but you're just deploying the entire desktop experience, right? And that's traditionally been done through like my old company Citrix, right? Or VMware, or Microsoft has their own Windows Virtual Desktop. There are other solutions out there from WorkSpot and others, right? But the cool thing is we can actually use SoftNAS to deploy the entire Windows Virtual Desktop experience through the cloud. And so more and more of our customers now are saying, hey, I've got this issue for COVID-19. I've got to have a work from anywhere experience, and they're using SoftNAS now to do that. So it's kind of cool. Data is doubling every couple of years, and the reality is, oil and gas customers, more like anybody, just can't afford it. Yeah.
I mean, my own damn iPhone, I keep having to buy more cloud as it is. You just keep stacking stuff, stacking it. So I don't think anyone's going to argue with the fact that you better hop on board to where you can just have kind of a limitless opportunity without all the fuss and investment. Or actually, not an investment. It's really a waste of money doing it any other way.
Yeah, it pained me. I recently did the same thing. I signed up to Apple, and I'm paying $1 a month to get the extra. And I know they're going to raise it. Just waiting for it to go to $2 bucks a month, or $3 a month, whatever. So that's what happens to these storage providers. You're absolutely right. They just keep tacking on that storage tax. I'm not going to talk too much about Halliburton, but it's kind of a good case study, which is probably good for your viewers and listeners to understand, which is. Again, they had this mission-critical application, Decision Space 365, and it was a legacy application. And so they had to make a decision. Do we recode, redevelop this application, which we've heard some estimates could have been 6 or 7 man-years, or do we use a solution like SoftNAS to instantly deploy in the cloud? So instead of taking 6 to 7 man-years, we did that in like 14 days. So think about customers that are looking to migrate legacy application to the cloud. Think of Decision Space 365 and what we've done in the oil and gas space, and we can absolutely help customers do that. So I think there's a good fit there too. Same thing, Schlumberger, they were looking for the best possible performance for their petrol application. It competes with Decision Space 365, and again, they chose SoftNAS to be that solution. So we're excited about that partnership as well. We talked about a lot of these key features, so I can just skip it, and people can just kind of take a second to view that. I don't know if there's anything that stands out to you.
I want to just ask here, just for my own clarity, SoftNAS, what's the explain it.
Sure. So as I mentioned, SoftNAS was the former name of the company. It was Software Network Attached Storage. That's how the name came about. And then we rebranded it as Buurst because we're no longer a one-trick pony. We have 2 products now. So we have Buurst SoftNAS, and coming out later this year is Buurst Fusion that I mentioned. Fusion with 2 U's, obviously.
Yes.
Right? So,
of course. You have to have
SoftNAS is our cloud network attached storage solution. Fusion is our I hate to call it artificial intelligence, but it's really a super information gatherer. Again, fusing data from any target source to any target location, bringing that into the cloud for insights and analysis. And we think there's going to be massive demand for that product when it launches. So we talked about this as well. These are the actual numbers, Warren, around throughput, IOPS, and latency. I know you're excited about that.
Yes, so. I am. I want to hear latency. Well, it's funny. I wrote down, in my notes, I was like, I've got these couple P's that we got to talk about, right?
Okay,
I'm like, I knew it was performance and protocols, but then there's this whole thing about the high availability.
Right.
And when you think of availability, people a lot of times just think like, where can you connect? Where can this work? They think geographical,
right?
But it's also just about ease of use, simplicity, and like the fact that it sounds like somebody could meet you, tell you, get me going, and maybe it'll be available very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny. We are now starting to see our sales cycles shorten, right? But we have a ton of customers that buy us to the marketplaces. We don't even talk to them. They have literally spun up their own free trials. They move it into production, and they're running on their own.
Wow.
And some are Fortune 500, some are companies I've never heard of in other parts of the world. So absolutely, the simplicity value is definitely there, which is cool. But back to your point about performance and the protocols, high availability, one of the things I neglected to say earlier, so Rick Brady, our founder, and he's our Chief Technology Officer, he's done a phenomenal job. He was actually the former CTO of Citrix as well, so he's got great credentials, right? He has over 13 patents on our technology.
Wow.
So we have a technology called ultrafast, which is kind of how we speed up the performance to across dirty networks to get you into the cloud, right? We've got Snap Replicate. We've got patented technology, the ability to replicate your instances, Snap High Availability. So we've got a lot of these cool features that are patented, because people always say, well, I can just build that on my own. Yeah, good luck with that, right? So, patents are not easy to get. So
yeah, nice. Yeah, the patent says a lot in the fact that obviously there's some proprietary stuff there that if you want access to it, you got to reach out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, I mentioned data migration. Again, legacy mission critical apps are a great fit for us. This is the slide I really want to talk about related to performance. And this is really talking to the strength of the solution from the very first thing we talked about, which is performance and cost, right? So not only are we giving 23 times better performance than, say, the basic solution for AWS EFS, which is Elastic File Services, which is what you would typically run out of the box on AWS. But if you need, again, you've got more than 6 to 8 terabytes of data, you want something a little bit more powerful, that's where you're going to look at SoftNAS. We have almost an 80% cost savings as you scale up to about a half a petabyte. So the numbers are there. We ran the math, and it was crazy. So again, for these large oil and gas customers that are trying to reduce their costs, we could literally save them tens of thousands of dollars a month on the storage costs.
I mean, and that to me, if I'm doing my math, we're talking 150 grand a year plus.
Well, and then the flip side of this chart was Azure NetApp File. So our biggest competitor on that side is NetApp, right? So Microsoft works with them on their Azure NetApp file system. And again, Microsoft will also recommend us for these larger mission critical workloads because they know about our performance. And even on ANF, it's the acronym, we have about an 18 to 20 times faster performance over ANF. And we have this from customers that showed us their data on their proof of concept. We just had a customer who is an oil and gas customer, I can't disclose who, out of Africa, right? And again, just goes to show that the power. So we have a partner who's working with them now, and we found out they were going to save them over $80,000 a month on their Azure NetApp Files bill.
I mean, there's got to be someone wanting to find you and kiss you. I don't know. That's a pretty big number.
Well, we joked that our CEO and I would make the trip to this country just to go visit them, but I don't know. We'll see. With this COVID world, I don't know if I want to travel to Africa.
Well, I mean, that's probably the only thing that should stop you, because someone wants to give you a hug. That's for sure.
That's right. Maybe we'll fly them over here. We'll see.
Yeah. And any final slide?
Yeah, so and that's really it. And I will end on Fusion, as I talked earlier about.
And Fusion's like the big upcoming thing, right?
Yeah, it's the new latest great. So it's kind of if you look at the old I think Gartner had it like the cash cows and the star. This is our star, right? So this is where we're getting a lot of analysts looking at this, saying, "Wow, this is really kind of cool. Like what you guys are doing, nobody else is doing right now." And so there are probably others that are similar, but they're very use case specific. Whether it's specific to ERP systems, which is like accounting systems, that kind of data, or specific to like retail or something like that. But this is really, again, a horizontal solution for customers or partners that want to actually build a system that can fuse data from any target source. So when I say any target source, I mean things like Internet of Things, like think of video camera data or point of sale register data. Or again, if I'm a gas station owner or oil and gas and I want to know what's going down at the pump, and I want to feed that back into the cloud for ExxonMobil or Chevron or Shell, right? I can do that with Fusion. And so we love the fact that it's, again, unstructured data, structured data. We don't really care, but the fact that you can bring that into the cloud for insights and analysis, super, super powerful.
It's interesting because that even broadens it even further. We talk to people that do IoT all the time, Internet of Things, and it sounds like those companies that are actually doing that, why not have a plug-in of Buurst and a Fusion to make it move faster, better?
We were talking to a retailer. I learned the solution. We have yet to ink the deal, but they've got retail chains, and they've got a local video management server sitting in every one of these retail, like thousands of retail locations, and they're pulling that data. And it's painful. So
tell me, if somebody's listening, they want to make sure they connect somebody to you. What are the best ways to connect with Buurst?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the Buurst website, Buurst.com.
And that's Buurst with 2 U's, everybody.
BUURST. Thank you.
Yep.
So that's one way to look at us. Definitely go to our LinkedIn page, like us on LinkedIn. We have tons of great updates almost every day.
Free trials. I want to say free trials.
Yeah, go to the Azure Marketplace or the AWS Marketplace. Just type in Buurst SoftNAS or Buurst, and we're actually a featured listing right now in the Azure Marketplace, which is kind of cool. But you can find us there and do a free trial too. So there's many, many ways to engage with us.
What's funny is when you do a free trial, when someone makes you faster, like when you, even with, again, like a cell phone, right? When you're downloading videos, boy, when it's going fast, it's great. And then when they're like, well, you did your little gigabyte, so back to the pony show.
That's right.
It sucks, right? So I'm sure a free trial goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you, Marc Palumbo from Buurst. I hope you guys check it out. There is not, I don't think you can make technology. I think you like hit a home run, by the way. It's like, as I look out in the audience, I know this was a fast-paced interview, and with technology, it wasn't like we were data. We really covered a lot of bases, so thank you.
No, thank you, Warren. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. And so if you guys are out there and you won't have a business that has a real solution to a real problem, come share it with the oil and gas industry via the Oil and Gas Global Network's Oil and Gas Pitch podcast. I'm your host, Warren Spiewak, and I'll see you on our next episode. Again, all this information will be in our show notes, and a big thank you to Churrasco's for making this all possible for us to get our camera crew and really make a production. It's really nice, and the food is killer. So thank you, and take care.